This story hits hard because it's not just a tale, it's a real-life tragedy shared by a former firefighter and EMT who witnessed the devastating consequences of HOA negligence. This is the entrance to Willow Grove, a gated community in Georgia where a man's life was lost not due to a fire or an untreatable medical emergency, but because of an HOA's arrogance. Firefighters arrived to save 72-year-old James Harper, who was suffering a heart attack, but the gate was locked, with no emergency override. The team had to cut through it with a rebar saw, but it was too late. James didn't serve YVE, and now the HOA board faces a lawsuit for their negligence. Shockingly, they even sued the fire department for property damage. Have you or someone you know been blocked by an HOA during an emergency? Share your story below. Let's dive into how this tragedy unfolded and how justice was served. James Harper, a 72-year-old retired schoolteacher, lived in Willow Grove, a gated community in a quiet Savannah suburb. Known for its pristine lawns, upscale homes, and strict HOA rules, it was a place James had always respected. He'd moved there 5 years ago after losing his wife, seeking peace and retirement. Neighbors loved James for his warm smile and nightly ritual of reading history books on his porch while wine to kids on their bikes. He was active, often volunteering to plant flowers at the entrance or organize book drives for the local library. But James had congestive heart failure, requiring careful monitoring, and he always wore an emergency alert bracelet. On a humid July evening, James was in his leave-wying room, reading about Theodore Roosevelt, when a sharp chest pain hit. His view sound blurred, his breaths grew short, and he knew it was a heart attack. Trembling, he pressed his bracelet's button, automatically dialing 911. "I need help," he whispered, GIVYing his address, Willow Grove, 142, Maple Lane. The dispatcher, Emily, stayed calm but urgent. "Help's coming, Mr. Harper." "Hold on." She sent the nearest fire station, Station 12, just 3 miles away, along with an ambulance. At Station 12, Captain Daniel Reed, a 45-year-old firefighter with 20 years' experience, was on duty. The alarm blared. Code 3, possible cardiac arrest. Willow Grove, elderly male, 72. Daniel and his team, Lieutenant Sarah Coleman, a former EMT, and firefighters Mark Evans and Laura Pierce grabbed their gear and raced to the truck, the ambulance trailing behind. "Every second counts," Daniel said, gripping the wheel. Sarah checked the defibrillator, her mind on CPR steps. They'd done this run before, but Daniel felt uneasy about Willow Grove's gate. Willow Grove was enclosed by a tall wrought iron fence with a single keypad-controlled gate, meant to keep out unauthorized VY-siders, as the HOA often bragged. But there was a fatal flaw. Despite Georgia law requiring emergency vehicle overrides, Willow Grove had none. The HOA, led by President Linda Grayson, a 60-year-old realtor known for micromanaging, had installed the gate cheaply 3 years ago, ignoring the contractors at VYC for an override system. "We don't need ambulances tearing through here," Linda had said at a board meeting, per the minutes. "It lowers property values." They also failed to share the gate code with the fire department, leaving first responders stranded in emergencies. Daniel's truck screeched to a halt at the gate, the ambulance behind. The black bars loomed, the keypad glowing faintly. Daniel jumped out, searching for an override slow-to-standard feature for a universal key but found nothing. "Unbelievable," he muttered. He pressed the call button, but no one answered. Security was off duty. Sarah joined him, glancing at her watch. "We're losing time." Mark and Laura tried bolt cutters, but the lock was too thick. Daniel radioed Emily. "Gates locked, no override, no security. We need the code or we're cutting it." Emily tried Linda Grayson's emergency Lena voicemail. "Do what you must," she replied. "Get the rebar saw," Daniel ordered. Laura grabbed the gas-powered tool, and sparks flew as they cut the gate's locking bar, the screech echoing. Neighbors gathered, confused and concerned. "What's happening?" a woman shouted. "Heart attack," Sarah yelled back. "The gate's locked." The woman gasped, rushing to alert others. Inside, James was fading, collapsed on the floor, his book slipping away. The pain was crushing. He thought of his late wife, Ellen, her laugh, her voice urging him to stay strong. "I'm trying," he whispered, sirens faintly audible as his eyes closed. The firefighters finally broke through, pushing the gate open. The truck roared into Willow Grove, speeding to 142, Maple Lane. Daniel's team burst into James's unlocked home, finding him unresponsive, his pulse weak. Sarah began CPR, her hands steady. "Stay with us," she urged. Daniel set up the defibrillator, Mark and Laura assisting paramedics who arrived with a stretcher. "Clear," Daniel shouted, delivering a shock. They worked for 15 minutes, but James's heart wouldn't restart. Paramedics called it at 7:42 p.m. Daniel slumped back, trembling. "We were so close," Sarah whispered, tears in her eyes. The gate had stolen precious minutes. Neighbors gathered outside, sobbing as they learned James was gone. The HOA's negligence was to blame. By morning, residents left flowers on James's porch. "He helped my daughter with history," said Maria, a single mom, crying. "This gate's a death trap," said Henry, an elderly neighbor, furious. At Station 12, Daniel filed the incident report, noting the missing override a clear violation of state law. He called the fire marshal, Karen Holt, demanding an investigation. "A man died because of this HOA," he said. Karen agreed, coordinating with police and EMS. Karen VY cited Willow Grove, examining the scarred gate. "No Knox box, no code shared," she said, snapping photos. Clear violation. Neighbors vented their rage. "The HOA cares about control, not lives," Henry told her. Linda Grayson called an emergency HOA meeting, deflecting blame. "The fire department overreacted," she snapped. "They could have called me for the code." Maria shouted back. "A man died, Linda." Linda doubled down, announcing a lawsuit against the fire department for gate damage, sparking outrage. Residents protested, holding signs like "Justice for James" and sharing the story online. Posts of the mangled gate and James's flower-covered porch went viral, trending with the "Justice for James." Local news covered it, and James's daughter, Claire Harper, a 40-year-old Atlanta lawyer, saw the reports. Devastated, she drove to Savannah, sitting in her father's home, his Roosevelt book still on the floor. "I'm sorry, Dad," she whispered, vowing justice. Claire met Daniel and Karen, reviewing the report. "My father didn't have to die," she said, filing a wrongful death lawsuit against the HOA. She gathered neighbor statements and hired a fire safety expert, Dr. Peter Lang, who confirmed the gate's delay killed James. The community rallied, holding a vigil in James's honor, their candles glowing as Claire spoke. "Dad loved this place. We're fighting for him." The HOA's lawsuit against the fire department fueled more anger. Linda's defiant interview, "The gate protects us," backfired, with readers calling her callous. Claire's lawsuit gained traction, with damning emails showing Linda ignored gate complaints. At the September hearing, Daniel testified that gate cost James his life. Dr. Lang echoed, 8 minutes was too long. Claire read Linda's emails aloud, exposing her negligence. The HOA's defense crumbled. Linda's evasive testimony claiming ignorance of the Lorang Hollow. Judge Evelyn Carter ruled for Claire, awarding Dula $2 million and ordering a compliant gate system. She dismissed the HOA's lawsuit, calling it an affront to justice, and ordered them to pay the fire department's Dula $15,000 legal costs. The courtroom cheered, Claire clutching her father's photo, tears falling. Willow Grove transformed. The HOA installed a new gate with a Knox box, costing Dula $200,000. Residents ousted Linda's board, electing Maria, Henry, and a retired firefighter, John. Claire started the James Harper Safety Fund, advocating for emergency access nationwide. Georgia passed James's law, mandating gate inspections. Fire departments offered HOA training, and Station 12 created a scholarship in James's name. The community dedicated a garden to James, planting his favorite roses. On the first anniversary of his death, they gathered, Claire holding his ashes. "You're still here, Dad," she said. Willow Grove became a place of hope, its new gate a symbol of change, ensuring no life would be lost to negligence again.